Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the Expat Edge. Today we're going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that digital nomads and expats make when they first get started on their journey abroad.
Welcome to the Expat Edge with Marcus and Matt, where we answer your questions about becoming an expat to help you thrive abroad.
Marcus, I know we've kind of gone back and forth about this quite a bit over the years. And one thing I noticed when people first go abroad, they rarely ever have the right bank cards in their wallet. It sounds insignificant, but you and I were just talking and you mentioned, when you first started living abroad, you paid quite a bit of money in foreign transaction fees on your cards. There's actually, quite an easy way to make sure that you never pay any foreign transaction fees and you always have a, card that you can use just about anywhere. Maybe you can tell us a bit about your experience in the beginning and then we can share our thoughts on how to make sure you avoid the problem.
Yeah, two big mistakes that I've made in this area have been when I first went abroad, I had a credit card and things like that, but I never, really had a huge limit. So I wasn't really that experienced. But when I went to Russia, I thought, okay, I'm going to Russia for, max 2 years. But it turned out to be 7. And I had just a normal Chase credit card or a Chase debit card. And whenever we would go to Finland or, around Europe or somewhere outside of Russia where I wasn't spending my rubles and things like that, I was always hit with the 3% foreign transaction fee. And I remember thinking, do I need to get this before I go? I'll just, I'll try not to use it. And that just didn't work for me because what happened was sometimes my Russian card wouldn't work in Finland or wherever I was. And I was like, I have my default Chase debit card or credit card. Right. So it always worked. But over the years, that 3% added up to several $100s. That was the first mistake I made. And I just remember thinking I need to get a card with zero foreign transaction cards.
Right. And actually, so there's lots of cards that have zero transaction fees abroad. And we can do another video maybe looking at some of them. But in addition to that, a credit card, another thing in my experience that's, can be quite hectic if you don't have a credit card is renting a car in any other country, right? Usually car rental agencies want to take a deposit. And if you give a debit card, in the US, for example, most car rental companies don't want to take a debit card, but if they do, they take quite a sizable deposit, probably $1,000 or more. And so then you're out that money for a couple of weeks while you have the car, and then even after you return it, they usually keep the hold on for some period of time. So having a credit card allows you to pay, and they put that deposit on the card, but then as soon as you return the card, the deposit comes off and you don't ever have to, pay that money. But it also usually gives you insurance above that too. So having a credit card is definitely important. Although obviously we want to stress, we definitely don't endorse people taking out credit cards and carrying balances and paying interest to avoid a 3% foreign transaction fee. If you're using a credit card, definitely make sure you pay it off every month. But in addition to credit cards, you also should have a debit card that allows you to pull out money from ATMs, either, abroad, fee-free or with very minimal fees. Marcus, I know you have one that you quite like, and then I can talk about my experience.
Yeah, I mentioned the first issue that I had, no card, either debit or credit, that had zero foreign transaction fees. The second one, I didn't really have a good credit card that I could use for rentals and things like that. As we were talking before this, you had mentioned a ton of benefits to just having a credit card that you could use while you're traveling. I gave you my experience about Revolut, the debit card that I use just traveling around many different countries where I do pay for Revolut. Revolut's their highest tier. And it's just so convenient because I can switch to a different currency. I can take out cash in many different currencies in many different countries. I can use their FX rate, their really good FX rate, to change currencies just right from my app, and it's really, really convenient. There's limitations, of course. There's traveler's insurance on there. So it's like a hybrid of a debit card, credit card, but it doesn't have some of the benefits of a credit card. So
right.
I think if I were to tell my, I don't know, how old was I when I went to Russia? That was
20-year-old?
Well, when I first went to Russia, I was 18. I turned 19 in Russia. But if I were to tell my old, young self going abroad, the things that I would say to, him would be, obviously the technology like Revolut didn't exist back then. So you mentioned like a credit union that has basically no fees. You can take out cash out of an
That's what I do.
ATM in any country. But I would definitely say to a person now preparing to go abroad, make sure that you get those things in order. Either you have a credit card that has 0 transaction fees, you have a debit card that you can be flexible with and take out cash out of an ATM in multiple countries. If you have both of them, then you're covered for almost any situation.
Right. I mean, and that's my idea as well. So I always have a debit card from my credit union that allows me to take out money fee-free anywhere in the world. Actually, the exchange rate's quite good. So if I do need cash somewhere, obviously some countries you need cash more than others. The US, for example, I don't ever have cash. That's a great card to have. I would just look at a local credit union. Usually they have no fees to have an account. It's very easy to become a member. I would highly recommend that. I also have a Chase account because it's easier to do everything else. And then on top of that, you need to have a credit card without the foreign transaction fees.
Let me just add one more thing here that I didn't mention before, even when we were talking. The problem with having a credit card, only credit card, is that let's say you're in Germany. I live in Germany currently, so a lot of the times at these little shops, they'll want cash. As we traveled throughout Europe, I was surprised how many people just wanted cash at their little shops. And it would be annoying, depending on the credit card, if you're trying to get a cash advance from the ATM, right?
Oh no, don't never do a cash advance.
So that's where like a debit card from a credit union or Revolut or something like Wise, whatever debit card like service that you can find that fits your needs would come in to save the day for those situations where you're traveling, you need cash, you go to an ATM, no fees, you have basically both for each case, for each scenario. And the other thing that maybe you should expound on, Matt, is when you do have a credit card, what are the things that you use the credit card for to gain points and things like that? Can you give some examples, other reasons why you would use it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the credit cards, you can obviously get points and miles, and I'm quite interested in that. And when I travel with my family, usually we stay at really nice hotels paid for with the points, and I've bought some nice flights using the points as well in business class for my family. So there's definitely another aspect to it, but I think if you make that your priority, then you might get in over your head, at least in the beginning, because in the points and miles, you really have to kind of put money on the cards. You've got to really pay attention to get the sign-up bonuses and whatnot. And we can talk about that experience I've got in doing that. But at the same time, it does help, because instead of using a card that charges you a foreign transaction fee, most of the credit cards, they'll have no foreign transaction fees, and then they'll also give you up to 2% back on every transaction that you make. So that's a 5% differential in terms of fees that you're saving by having a credit card. So I always put travel expenses on a credit card.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, those are just some of the options and some of the benefits why you would want each. There's many others, all the benefits of something like Revolut, all the benefits of depending on your financial situation.
We could do whole videos on the benefits.
But the point is that you need to make sure that you have those at your disposal, not when it's too late and you're already abroad, but beforehand, before you go abroad. So take those things into consideration when you're preparing for a trip, especially if you're going for a long trip. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and we'll see you in another video.
This was the Expat Edge with Matt and Marcus. We hope you enjoyed the video. Visit theexpatedge.com for even more content that will help you thrive abroad. You can submit your ideas for video topics and sign up for free at theexpatedge.com. See you there.